And welcome. I'll be answering NECO 2019 Biology Past Question 28. The joint that allows movement in all directions is A. Ball and socket joint, B. Gliding and sliding joint, C. Hinge joint, D. Pivot, and E. Suture joint. Now the ball and socket joint is actually a type of joint. It's a synovial joint. We call them synovial joints because of the presence of synovial fluids and synovial membrane. The synovial joint that allows movement in all direction. In all direction. So it allows movement in all direction. Example of the ball and socket joint is the shoulder joint or the hip joint. And if you can see, you can move your arm in different directions. This is because of the presence of the ball and socket joint. Now option B says gliding and sliding joints. Now gliding and sliding joints occurs between surfaces of two flat bones. That is, occurs between surfaces of two flat bones that are held together by ligaments. Held together by ligaments such that then example is the wrist joint or the ankle joint. The wrist joint or the ankle joint. So these two flat bones, the surfaces are actually held together by what? By ligaments. So they are able to slide over each other, and that is why we call it gliding and sliding joints. You find this in the wrist and in the ankle. Now C is hinge joint. Now hinge joint is also a synovial joint that allows movements in only one plane, that is in only one direction. In only one direction. And that is flexion and extension. An example of this hinge joint is the elbow and knee joint. The elbow and knee joint is typical example of the hinge joints. Now the pivot joint. The pivot joint is also a synovial joint that in which the ends of two bones meet. Now in such a way that one end of this bone form a central bony cylinder and the other end form a ring. So we call it a pivot joint. Like it, one end of the bone, take for instance one end of the bone like this, form a central cylinder, and then the other bone forms something like a ring like this. So we call it a pivot joint. And an example where you can find this pivot joint is in the neck. The neck is a typical example where these pivot joints can be found. That's joint of the neck. Now option E says suture. Now this suture bones is only found in the skull. The joint in the skull is the suture bone, whereby the bones of the skull are actually attached together by fibers. They are attached by fibers, so they form the suture joints. So it's only found in the skull. Now from the question says the joint that allows movements in all directions is A. Ball and socket joints. Like I said ball and socket joint is a synovial joint that allows movement in all directions, and that is an example is the shoulder joint and the hip joints. So option A is the answer to this question. Thank you, and ensure to subscribe to our channel for more videos and for more past questions.